This is the afternoon weather briefing. This is for Thursday, the 16th of February. I'm James Spann. Everybody nervously waiting and watching to see how the convection plays out this afternoon. The thunderstorms, thought we'd go through some things. Won't spend a lot of time here today, but I thought I'd give you an early afternoon look at the current situation. And if you watched us before, we typically start with the upper air look because this really tells a story. And this might be telling us a story today. So we've got a positive tilt upper trough north and west of the state. That's providing the dynamic support for the unsettled weather. But there's also a big old ridge over Florida, basically where you're seeing me in this video, in my box. And that ridge sometimes can act as a brick wall. The air aloft is warm and stable, and it tends to contaminate things, and that might be playing a factor in what happens this afternoon. We don't know that yet, but it's an interesting battle between the trough north and west of the state and the ridge here across the southeast. This is the visible satellite view, and we've got a few breaks in the cloud cover, a few thin spots, a few peaks of sun, but it's generally overcast across the state. And this is the current radar composite. And we know that most of you watch these videos later, but for those that are watching live, it is 1:16 on Thursday. And we have a batch of storms over parts of West Alabama, storms over Tennessee, and parts of South Mississippi. Temperatures obviously are very mild. We've got 70s in most places. Birmingham at 74, Dothan 78, Montgomery 79. And we do have tornado watches in effect for parts of western and middle Tennessee, much of Mississippi, and the western part of the Tennessee Valley in North Alabama. The counties in that tornado watch would include Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin, Limestone, Lawrence, and Morgan. And other than that, no watches or warnings for the rest of the state. The outlook has really not changed a lot. This is the severe weather outlook for the rest of today and tonight. We have an enhanced risk of severe storms. That's 3 out of 5 levels for a pretty good chunk of north and west Alabama. The area is in orange. We have a level 2 out of 5 risk down to Auburn and Troy and Geneva. And then for the southeastern corner of the state, Dothan, that's a level 1 out of 5 risk. And this is the probabilistic outlook for tornadoes. And again, the enhanced area was expanded a little bit late this morning, but it's basically the same. And where you got the hatched area, this is the Storm Prediction Center suggesting there might be a strong tornado somewhere in there. And by definition, that's EF2 or higher. So let's go right to the radar and kind of see what's happening here. Give you a little radar tour, if you will. And one thing we've got here, the atmosphere is capped over Alabama. Warmer air aloft, keeping things pretty much at bay. Let me change this over to Birmingham. We'll take a look at the current convection here in parts of West Alabama. You can see that it's really pouring now from near Pennington on the Tombigbee River up to Demopolis and Greensboro in Hale County. These are noisy, loud, very wet thunderstorms, but they're not severe. There's no evidence of damaging wind. There's no evidence of a tornado. There's no evidence of large hail, and that's the reason there's no warning. And again, for those that are new to the area, the criteria to make a storm severe, it is 1-inch diameter hail or larger or 58-mile-per-hour winds or greater. That's it. Nothing else makes a storm severe, and these storms do not exhibit those characteristics at this point. And these are moving northeast, as you can see, and ultimately rain could begin in Birmingham fairly soon. But again, the news is good. I tell people this all the time. The first storms of the day on a day like today will typically tell you a story. They will talk to you if you're willing to listen. And I think what we're seeing here is that we just might have the ridge holding and maybe mitigating the chance of a big severe weather day, which would be great news if that's the case. But again, and back off to the west, we'll go to the radar in Jackson. And obviously, we watch developments here very carefully, and you can see lines and clusters of storms. But if you notice, there's not a single warning, not one, not a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning over Mississippi at this point. And again, I'm doing this at 1:19, and that's really good. I think the storms are trying to tell us a little story here. And we hope that the storms remain under severe limits, and that's a possibility. But on the other hand, they still could go severe, so keep that in mind. In fact, I did notice we've got one warning up here that is between Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee. And again, this particular thunderstorm up here that's near Interstate 40 is capable of possibly producing a tornado. This one right here, it's certainly got a hail shaft in there. It's north of Interstate 40, and this is about, looks like, 50 miles west-southwest of Nashville. And again, I'm going to take a peek at this. And again, there's clear rotation here, not an overwhelming tornado signature, but it certainly could produce a tornado with something like that. But again, that's far, far north of here, and this is where the wind dynamics are a little better up in parts of Tennessee, but the instability is weaker up there. So again, we'll kind of go back to what we've got here. We're watching the batch of storms over West Alabama, and again, there's not severe. People say, hey, man, how come you're not on television? Well, we don't have any severe storms. We don't have any tornado warnings. I say this all the time. We don't cut off programming just to see our face on TV and yak away. That's not what we do here. We only go on there when there's a reason to do that. And right now there's not. And again, if you're in Demopolis and if you're in Greensboro, it's pouring, and the storms are noisy, and there's lightning popping, but not severe, no damaging wind, no tornadoes. But we're going to watch trends very carefully here over the next few hours. So one more time, and again, I can't stay long because there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people think that we don't do that much, and maybe we don't, but I do weather on 24 different radio stations across the country, and have to handle the television side, write for the blog, answer a gazillion social media messages. So there's a lot of things going on here. But again, very quickly, let's kind of summarize for those that are watching live. Even though things right now are relatively quiet, storms could go severe over the next few hours. We'll watch with great interest radar trends. Hopefully, the day will be a nothing burger, and we can celebrate that. But I am not saying that's the case. We're not declaring the thing to be a bust right now, but it's an interesting battle between the ridge in place just south and east of here and the trough north and west of here. We got an enhanced risk of severe storms, and this is from the Storm Prediction Center. We don't draw these maps. It's coming from Norman, and these guys are good. We have an enhanced risk over a pretty good chunk of north and west Alabama. The counties there in orange. The rest of the state in a level 2 or 1 risk. And within that enhanced risk, you've got that hatched area, which means there might be a strong tornado if the cap can break and if the storms can achieve some decent updraft and be sustained. And again, we'll watch the trends, but just be weather aware for the rest of today and tonight. We say this all the time. These days like this are very routine in February. This is nothing out of the ordinary. We have severe weather threats common around here between November and May, which is the tornado season. And on days like today, there's never a reason to be anxious. And again, we don't want people trying to latch on to some of these rogue social media pages that are just so hyperbolic. It's rough. I mean, you would think the world is ending. But just have a way of getting the warnings, and we get through these days just fine together. And we'll do that today. But again, right now, no warnings in the state, no active warnings. And I want to show one more graphic. This is the probabilistic outlook for damaging straight-line winds within storms, and those numbers are higher. And what's going to happen, the storms west of the state will likely evolve into a long line early tonight and come through. And, of course, with the linear type setup, the bigger problem, it's strong straight-line winds. And then once that passes, we turn colder, and we're done with any severe weather for a while. In fact, look at next week here. We're going to have some of the warmest weather so far this year. Next week looks like the warmest week so far this year. Now, keep in mind, we'll be in the 20s Saturday morning, but we'll be close to 80 by the middle part of next week. And, again, that's going to feel pretty good. So that's going to do it for this quick video update this afternoon. We will have notes over on the blog, alabamawx.com. And, again, we've got a crew writing updates over there, and of course we'll hop on the television side if need be. And when it comes to days like today, if we do have tornado warnings, then all of my energy, every CPU cycle up here in my head, is used to provide coherent live television coverage and video coverage for those watching on their phones or on television. And I can't do a lot of other things. I can't give individual briefings or do a lot of stuff like that. So we just want you to watch ABC 3340. And a reminder, we're free over-the-air television. A cheap antenna, you can see all kind of stuff. But I'd say the preferred way to watch us online, it's YouTube. Just follow the ABC 3340 YouTube channel. Subscribe, and you'll be able to watch it that way. They stream live on Facebook. But if you have a Roku, Apple TV, any of those things, over-the-top boxes, the YouTube channel is probably the best way to watch it, or just on good old-fashioned television. So that'll do it for this update this afternoon. Again, we'll be in Studio A across the hall at 4 on ABC 3340 News, but of course sooner if need be. And the next video here by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk soon.